Hello, everyone. My name is Rhoda Goremucheche. I am a member of the South African Monitoring and Evaluation Association, SAMEA. I was highly involved in the process of developing the SAMEA Competency Framework for evaluators practicing in South Africa. And today I'd like to share with you a little bit about the journey that SAMEA undertook in the process of developing this competency framework. Now, before we jump into the process, I'd like to share with you a little bit about SAMEA. The South African Monitoring and Evaluation Association was launched in 2005. Current membership stands at 551, and there are 16 institutional members. As a professional body, the South African Monitoring and Evaluation Association is committed to cultivating a vibrant community that is meant to support, guide, and strengthen the development of M&E, not only as an important discipline, but also as a profession and an instrument for empowerment and accountability in the country. South Africa is not ready for professionalization of evaluation of a gatekeeping nature, like credentialing or certification. Rather, SAMEA has opted for and is committed to strengthening evaluation and evaluators in a bid to promote evaluation quality in the country. So how does SAMEA live into its commitment to strengthen evaluation and evaluators? The first way is by facilitating capacity building workshops for SAMEA members and evaluation stakeholders in the country. Secondly, SAMEA hosts every 2 years the SAMEA conference. SAMEA also facilitates activities such as hackathons, and of late, SAMEA has been supporting the immersion experience for emerging evaluators to gain more experience, deepen their knowledge, and strengthen their M&E skills. The fifth way in which SAMEA is living into its commitment to strengthen evaluation and evaluators is by developing the competency framework for evaluators practicing in the country. Now I'll give you a brief background of the competency framework development process and the key activities that we undertook over the period of time of the development process. So like most VOPs around the world, we started with a literature review and a crosswalk of existing frameworks. In total, we crosswalked 11 competency frameworks. And out of this process, we emerged with a sacrificial draft, if you like, or the draft list of competencies. We then surveyed a group of postgraduate M&E students, and from them, we received the initial feedback on the list of competencies. From there, SAMEA members provided their feedback through platforms such as the SAMEA Listserv and the SAMEA Eval Cafes. In 2018, SAMEA members continued to provide their feedback, and they're joined by other evaluation stakeholders. And this was through the Listserv, the SAMEA Listserv, Eval Cafes, and meetings by communities of practice in the evaluation community, such as the Bridge Community of Practice. In 2019, SAMEA hosted its conference in Johannesburg in October. There, SAMEA members provided further feedback, and this was on the 7th iteration of the competency framework draft. In 2020, evaluation stakeholders such as M&E practitioners in development agencies like the World Food Programme and UNICEF also provided their feedback on the framework virtually. The SAMEA board I beg your pardon, the SAMEA board also provided their feedback in 2020. Like other VOPs, in the process of developing the competency framework, we were guided by principles that we upheld. The first principles being Ubuntu. We believe we are interconnected. And so this underscores the work that evaluators do, and naturally it underscores the competencies development project. The process was inclusive, and we were intentional about including evaluators from different fields and sectors, and those with different levels of experience and expertise. In keeping with principles that are essential for a context such as South Africa, such as Batopeli, we were consultative. We had to consult a wide array of stakeholders, and this will continue even as the process is taken forward as SAMEA reviews or revises the competency framework. So principles such as Batopili will find expression through the consultative process. The process had to be contextualized, and this is non-negotiable for the competencies to reflect the South African context, for it is the context that shapes the interventions and influences evaluators and how evaluations are conducted. Along this journey, we enjoyed some support, and we also faced some challenges. First and foremost, support was from the SAMEA board itself. So the board bought into the process, and they were invested in the process of developing this framework. SAMEA members were also willing to provide feedback during the various iterations. In addition, evaluation stakeholders, as mentioned before, from international aid agencies, from universities, faculty members, and M&E communities of practice in the country also supported the process and provided feedback. Academic institutions such as CLEAR AA, which is the Center for Learning on Evaluation and Results, Anglophone Africa, also provided their feedback. Amongst the key challenges we had, the very first one was having very limited manpower. So much of this work was done on a volunteer basis, and we did not have enough warm bodies or hands on deck throughout the process. In addition, we experienced the temporary setbacks that came as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and the restrictions that it brought about. So some of the feedback and engagement sessions, for instance, that had been planned with the support of CLEAR AA had to be postponed. Eventually, we had to take this online. Now I'll move to some of the lessons we have learned in this journey from others who went before us and others who were, while we were developing the SAMEA framework, were either reviewing theirs or were still in the process of developing their own frameworks. So the first one is consultation is essential, and this has to be across sectors and fields. And in some contexts, it has to be also against geographical settings of where evaluation stakeholders and evaluators are physically located. Human resources are needed. So perhaps a working group could be considered so that there are more hands on deck, more brains, and more perspectives that are brought to the table. It takes time, and this process requires patience, and that's just one reality that needs to be factored in. And as much as possible, as we learn from others, the language used has to be simple, concise, and easy to understand. The less ambiguity there is, the more likely that evaluators and other stakeholders can quickly also provide feedback without struggling to understand what concepts and statements are referring to. The consideration for the context can never be overemphasized. Context is important. And this will also influence how you understand your stakeholders and platforms through which they can provide their feedback and information and access information about the framework and the framework itself. The last point is that we do not need to reinvent the wheel. As Samea, we did not start from scratch. We learned from others who also did not start from scratch. So the first point is probably to look at existing frameworks and then contextualize these to the local context or the country context as needed. Thank you so much for listening, and all the best with your own professionalization journey.